Okay, in this video, I'm going to go over your follower. You pick them up from down here in the bottom corners. There are different places in each act. Your follower can be one of your most prized additions, or it can be a hindrance. For most of mine, I use the Templar Follower. You can hit F or click on his portrait to bring up his gear menu once you hire him. I use a very set of gear for my follower, and I will explain each piece and basically how to get it. I'll go over skills first. I always go for the boost skills. I'm on my monk, which I want my Templar to taunt things around me. That way he gets hit and I don't. Since I have the relic that prevents him from dying, I want him to take as much damage as he can so that I'm not having to. On my barbarian, I use the heal one. Second one is I use the slow. You can go with the life regeneration, but it's not very much, and so it's kind of pointless. For the third skill set, I use the charge, and it's because he charges the mob, damages it, and then makes it take extra damage. And then for my last one, I use the Guardian, which is a death save. If I die while my Templar is near me, he will immediately bring me back to life without damaging my gear or anything. It also won't count against you if you're in a greater rift, which deaths do count against you there. If you have death save pops, it does not count against you. Now, for my basic gear for my Templar. As I said, for Relic, I always go with the highest legendary that I can that has your follower cannot die. I really don't care about the primary stats, secondary stats, other than the equip on follower, your follower cannot die. That is mandatory for your follower to actually be a pretty good contribution to your group. The second thing I get is I run Act 1 bounties until I get several Ring of Royal Grandeurs. These allow me and my follower to reduce the number of items needed for set bonuses, and I will show you where that comes into play in just a moment. From there, I always put a Nemesis Bracer on him. You can get those from randomly killing mobs. You can also get them from the Blood Shard Merchant in each act. It doesn't matter what act you're in. I use this because of the shrines and pylons will spawn an enemy champion. This basically increases my chances of gear, blood shards, and death breaths, which I need for upgrading gear, forging gear, and reforging gear. With this on my follower, I get the benefit from it because it is an emanate skill. The next one I get is, of course, the Flavor of Time. Once again, don't really care much about the primary skills. I definitely want the pylon effects last twice as long, and that's pretty self-explanatory. All of my pylons I click, the experience boost, the lightning bolts, the increased power, increased health, all of those will now last twice as long as they normally would. I always go for the Spalders of Zakara for the simple effect of your items become indestructible, which means I never have to pay a repair bill again. Then I go for Gold Wrap, which basically, as it's self-explanatory, when I hit mobs, when I kill them, it increases the chances of them to drop gold and increases the amount of gold that they do drop. Then I always go with the Gloves of Worship. Once again, pretty much self-explanatory. Shrine effects last for 10 minutes. Shrines are your little pools and stuff like that that you can click. and this just simply makes their effects last for 10 minutes rather than 2 minutes. For the offhand, I always go with either the fire or poison ring, which makes taking fire damage or poison damage restore my primary resource, so that I never run out of resource. Now comes in the Royal Ring of Grandeur. You want the 3-piece set of Sage, Sage's Journey. Easiest way to get this with the build that I have is getting the Sage's waist and head. The Royal Ring will then count in and give you the 3-piece bonus, which is doubles the amount of Death's Breath that drop from anything. The second set you want is Kane's Destiny. Once again, the Royal Ring will come in, and once you have the legs and feet, we'll give you the 3-piece set, which increases your Greater Rift Keystone drops. It says 25%. Typically, 1 out of every 2 will drop a extra keystone. At T16, that means you'll get 4 keystones instead of 3, or 5 keystones instead of 4 if you get lucky. And then usually primary and secondary, if I have a really good primary legendary, I'll throw it on, and then just some kind of secondary. With this, I like this set with my Templar, because you gain the attack speed increase, which means he actually starts helping do some damage. And that's just the Hallowed Protectors set. There's 5 different primary weapons you can use. I typically go with the axe because it's a little bit faster and therefore he does more damage. Since he cannot die, he can get right into the middle of the mess and just start beating the crap out of things. Right now he does about 296,000 damage per hit, so not too shabby. I do typically socket 3 gemstones into my followers. This one's only got 2 in him for right now. Or no, he's got 3. The Gem of Efficacious Toxin poisons any enemy he hits. Don't really care about the amount of damage it does. What I care about is at rank 25, the gem then adds the effect of any mob that is poisoned will take 10% more damage and do 10% less damage. That becomes huge when you start running upper greater rifts. The second one I use is the Bane of the Trapped. At rank 25, it adds an aura to my Templar that reduces movement speed of all mobs within 15 yards by 30%. This helps a lot, as most classes get at least 1 skill that does extra damage to mobs that are slowed, stunned, or frozen. And then my third one is just simply a damage one. It's the Mirene, Teardrop of the Starweaver. At rank 25, it will cast the original rank of Smite every 3 seconds. And Smite will do 4,500% weapon damage to everybody around him, and it heals me for 3% of my life. That going off every 3 seconds, it's a pretty good little boost to damage and a pretty nice little continual heal. Once again, you don't have to get those gems above rank 25. You just want the primary and secondary effect from the gems. As you can see, I don't socket into my armor. I don't waste my actual jewels. Weapon I do, and it's simply because of the increased damage against elites. Once again, that is your Templar. You can go over to pretty much any of them, and the primary gear stays the same. The only thing that would change is your primary and secondary. The skills, you pretty much have the same types of skills. Slows enemies, increases crit chance, multi-shot, and then there is the Knight's Veil, which is his death save. And then you have your Enchantress. Same basic thing. The only thing that would change is the weapon. The actual gear would stay the same. For skills, you would want to go with the Temporal Pulse, the Prophetic Harmony, the Erosion, and of course the death save. That is your followers.